Robert Boyle was a 17th century chemist, born in 1627 in the Dutch Golden Age, where it was known as a place where the richest people dominated and ruled. He comes from a culture that was known as the Anglo-Irish, which meant that the members that were the descendants of the Protestants made them belong to the Church of Ireland. During that time period, Robert Boyle made a discovery known as the Boyle's Law. He discovered his law by using a model that he made that was an air pump that described his law. His law states that the product of pressure and volume is a constant for a given mass of confident gas as long as the temperature is constant. This contributes to our lives by helping scuba divers acknowledge Boyle's law by holding their breath underwater and ascend slowly. This helps scuba divers to be more careful underwater. The way Boyle became a chemist was of what he had discovered, which made him become the chemist that we know now. He received his scientific training in Grassman College, which he devoted his life to chemistry and physics, where people began to say he did invisible college, which meant that a person who studies two things like chemistry and physics. The scientific community saw this as an amazing founding by Boyle because it was so impressive on how a man from the 17th century pulled this discovery with only of what he learned, and the scientific community believes that it was an important thing to know in this time we live in. In the event in where Robert Boyle was shaped in the interest in science was in September of 1641. He and his tutor went to Venice, and by the beginning of 1642 they were in Florence. While there, Galileo died near Florence at the same time Boyle was living there. He was much influenced by this event, and carefully he studied Galileo's work. When Boyle returned to England, he came with a keen interest of scientific research. But during his lifetime, he had been living with his dad. Then, the time he was living with his dad, Robert had left with his tutor in a trip to Venice to learn more about the Frenchesse and where he became a chemist. He lived there about 6 years with his tutor, but then Robert had decided to come back, and then he lived with his dad until he had died. Then he lived with his sister for a little while in Oxford, but he and his sister moved. He had a stroke when he was living with his sister, but he recovered from health and lived alone in his home in London until he passed away. When he passed away, he was awarded to be the first man in London to get an award that was called Fellow of the Royal Society, and he was also awarded with a monument of himself. Some of the obstacles that he faced in order to be a well-known chemist were going through his mom's death and being sent away. He had also had to go through his dad's death, and especially his stroke. I believe that you could describe him as a passionate, logical, intelligent, educated, and enlightening man. I truly appreciate it for taking your time and listening about Robert Boyle. Thank you.